Welcome back to the John Fredericks Radio Network. Good morning, Dr. Fisher. How are you?
Great, sir.
Are you okay? How's it up there? It's 7 degrees outside the studio down here.
It's about the same up here, but my cats still want to run outside.
Cats in the cradle, huh? Rick, it's good to be with you. We're coming down to the end of the year. Today's the 28th. We'll be wrapping it up on the John Fredericks Radio Network today and tomorrow. I'll be filling in for John. Thanks for coming on. Rick, tell us, you haven't been on in a while. We have a lot of things going on in North Korea. There's some stuff on the news, some information where they're saying Trump's going to make a move by February, which I don't like these kind of comments by people on YouTube, people that just grab news or whatever. We shouldn't give this guy any inkling of what we're going to do or how we're going to do it. But since you're an expert in the region, tell me, what do you feel about China and North Korea, Rick?
Steve, I think we're beginning to step into a trap. The Chinese have said something to our Secretary of State to the effect that he believes that somehow China is in agreement with an American limited strike for the purpose of taking out North Korea's nuclear weapons capability. We have not been made privy to the exact content of these conversations, and I'm simply astounded that we would risk a war of the magnitude that North Korea is capable of creating over what may be flimsy Chinese promises to do nothing in the event of an attack. First of all, I'm very leery that a limited strike against North Korea would work in the first place. A strike that did not, at the same time, eliminate a substantial amount of their military capability would then let the North Korean leadership to do what they've been preparing for the last 60 years, and that is to strike against South Korea in a massive way, a way in which we may not be prepared to deter or respond to. In short, I wouldn't contemplate a strike against North Korea in any form without the United States having deployed several hundred tactical nuclear weapons. If we get involved in a conflict that bogs down in North Korea, if we're defeated, if our mission is not accomplished, then it is also my fear that China will take the opportunity to launch strikes elsewhere, perhaps in the South China Sea, perhaps against Taiwan. Again, this can be deterred with sufficient deployment of tactical nuclear weapons, but it's not clear that the administration is thinking about this as it builds towards a military move against the North. Now, whether it'll happen in February, nobody knows, and it would certainly be to the advantage of the United States to be putting out disinformation about the timing of such a strike. Why give them any benefit of any doubt? But initiating a military conflict against North Korea without the benefit of a regional nuclear strike capability beyond our strategic strike capability is simply a very unwise move at this time.
Rick, who else would be allied with North Korea? Anybody in the Middle East?
The Iranians are very close to the North Koreans. The Iranians appear to benefit from North Korean advances in both nuclear and missile technology almost immediately. North Korean engineers are known to be in residence in North Korea and are often detected attending missile launches.
Oh, you mean the Iranian engineers? Iranian
engineers, yes.
Okay.
So the possibility of an Iranian retaliation against an American strike against North Korea is also something that must be planned for.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking of that, Rick, because if they're working together, it would be like us helping our allies, correct? Why wouldn't they want to help their ally?
Indeed, they benefit so much from the existence of North Korea.
Mm-hmm. So we really have to more or less concentrate on the threat rather than the dossier, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Again, any initiating any conflict against North Korea that does not remove their ability to retaliate with a massive strike against South Korea is a very unwise move.
What about Japan, Rick? Where's Japan in on this?
Well, North Korea has multiple levers to pull in terms of terrorizing or even striking Japan. Many North Korean missiles can reach Japan and can attack Japan with biological warheads, if not nuclear warheads, and cause mass damage and panic.
Do you think we have the correct people in the high levers, not in government, but in the military, to make the right decisions?
I think we have a very level-headed leadership in top echelons of the Pentagon as well as in the National Security Council. Of course, it is simply very unwise to be speaking in any real detail about operational military plans, which is why the comments of the Secretary of State about 2 weeks ago were so alarming and unusual. That we would be planning a strike against North Korea is not alarming. It's really come to that. The North Koreans are not going to dismantle their nuclear capability, and every day it develops towards the point that they can launch nuclear warheads against any city in the United States. Something has to be done. But a military conflict that could almost instantly escalate out of control is not something that most Americans are looking forward to in 2018. It would be far preferable at an early stage to establish an American military capability that could sufficiently deter Pyongyang and at the same time strengthen our ability to deter any Chinese military adventurism, because they're building up for an invasion against Taiwan perhaps as early as the first part of the 2020s.
Rick, let me ask you, what could we do to China? What is it that we have to do to get China on board?
Steve, I'm not sure that there's anything we can do. The Chinese are in this well over their noses, and have been and will be. As one of their leaders once said, North Korea and China are close as teeth and gums, teeth and lips.
So there's nothing that the Western European, the so-called allies, the NATO group, there's nothing they can do with China either. Nobody could put any pressure on them. So basically, China's got a free pass.
Well, even if we could, even if Xi Jinping made a speech before his nation tomorrow and said, we divorce North Korea, we abandon them, we hope they slide into the sea. It won't make a whit of difference because the Chinese have allowed the North Koreans to get to the point where they are today. The Chinese have transferred missile technology. They've transferred almost all of the technology for North Korea's ability to transport its missiles and achieve surprise strikes. And for decades, China has subsidized North Korea so that the Communist Party leadership in that country can survive in preserving its dictatorship.
So you're saying to me this goes back to how far? Is this George H.W.? Is this Clinton?
No, this goes back to 1953.
Okay. So all along we just played patsy. We gave them whatever they needed. I remember Bill Richardson was a regular He was like being on the Johnny Carson show, going there so often. Remember, Bill Richardson would make these trips, what, 2-3 times a year?
Not only that, Steve, but all through the 90s, we tried to work through Beijing to get the North Koreans to stop their nuclear weapons program. We then, after 2003, fell into the trap of the six-party talks, which were initiated by the Chinese right after George W. Bush invaded Iraq, not for the purpose of doing anything to solve the problem or to, again, convince the North Koreans, but really to stop the Americans from initiating any strike against North Korea.
So we were
give the North
suckered in.
Koreans time to build up their nuclear capability that they have today.
Exactly. That's what it looks like to me, Rick. It looks like, I mean, going back, you're saying 53. I wanted to go back to George H.W. Bush. We were being suckered into giving them fuel. Madeleine Albright was saying if we only gave them this, and under the Clinton administration, and that carried on into two Clinton administrations, two W administrations, and the Obama administration, and it was just kicking the ball or kicking the can down the road. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And now we're looking for something else. This is like the insanity. You know, we're looking for another result, knowing all along the result we have now. But here's the sad part. This guy's already he's lobbing stuff near Hawaii. He's lobbing stuff into the seas. And, you know, if he hits Oregon or Seattle or California, what are the libs going to do? What are they going to do? Bring a Pizza Hut? Papa John? What are they going to say? We'll just give them some more pizza? Time now is 7:23. You're on with Dr. Rick Fisher on the John Fredericks Radio Network, the Godzilla of Talk Radio, and the Godzilla of Conservative Talk Radio in Virginia. And when I'm at the flagship, WHKT 1650, with Dr. Fisher. So, Rick, what do we think about for 2018? Do we get serious? What is serious? Does serious even matter anymore? How do we get serious?
We can prevent a war, and we can halt North Korean aggression. We can do that very easily by beginning to deploy tactical nuclear weapons back to the region. First, on our Navy ships, our submarines, and various surface ships. And then secondly, we begin negotiations for the purpose of deploying tactical nuclear weapons to South Korea and Japan. The Japanese may take a little longer to agree to this, but there is substantial support in South Korea for deploying these weapons. And if the American side insisted that this was necessary in order for the United States to make good on its alliance commitments to South Korea, this would move the decision very quickly. Once the tactical nuclear weapons are in place, then the North Koreans know absolutely that the Americans can destroy them if they launch their nuclear missiles or launch a major military strike against South Korea. Those tactical nuclear weapons are also in the region, meaning that they can be deployed to deter Chinese military aggression as well. That would be perhaps the most efficient and decisive move that the United States could make in 2018 to prevent war from North Korea.
Rick, here's a question. One of the listeners just texted me. He said, is it a good idea to start shooting down North Korea's next missile test?
That would actually be a relatively, not risk-free, but a relatively inefficient way to make our point to the North Koreans. It destroys a missile. It doesn't destroy anything in North Korea. And it proves the ability of American technical capabilities to intercept and defeat their missile strikes. It would actually be a very good idea to start doing that. And really to shoot down all North Korean missiles that travel over Japan.
Dr. Fisher, one more question I want to ask you. And if you can't answer it, don't answer it. Have you been called in by anybody in the administration, Pentagon, or whatever, as to your knowledge and your ideas?
No. And if it's,
you're a very
private
smart
sector
guy,
analyst,
Dr. Fisher. You're a very smart guy.
Offer my commentary as part of an ongoing public debate.
Mm-hmm. No, because I know you're key on these issues in Korea and China, and you've been like that for I don't know how many years now, over 20 years that I know you. And by the way, your friend is coming up at the 8 o'clock hour, Admiral Lyons. We'll talk a little bit more about world affairs at 8 o'clock. Rick, I want to thank you for coming on. And I appreciate you coming on at the end of the year. It's coming up to the bottom of the hour. I want to wish you and your family a very happy New Year, safe New Year, and thank you for your commentary, Rick.
Thank you for having me on, and a very happy New Year to you and yours.
God bless. Bye-bye now.